this great inheritance and of the duties and heavy responsibilities of sovereignty, which have now passed to my beloved daughter.
The anniversary was supposed to celebrate continuity. Instead, it delivered a royal image no one inside the palace had expected to become the defining moment of the day. As the ceremony reached its most symbolic stage, Catherine stepped into the position associated with Camilla, and suddenly every carefully rehearsed assumption collapsed. Charles remained composed. William watched in silence. Camilla understood instantly. This was not simply a change of place. It was a message. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. King Charles III had expected the coronation anniversary to reinforce stability, not ignite a question about succession. The anniversary marked the ceremonial remembrance of his crowning, and every detail from procession order to family placement had been arranged to show that the monarchy remained controlled and united. Catherine knew that one wrong step could become more powerful than any speech. Camilla knew it too. Then a senior palace official approached Princess Catherine only moments before the central observance. He spoke quietly, indicated the place beside Charles, and waited. She froze for a heartbeat. Her eyes moved toward William, who did not signal her forward or hold her back. The future king simply watched as his wife understood what was being asked. Catherine drew herself together and stepped into the position that had been intended for Camilla. Camilla saw the change immediately. The queen consort had expected to occupy the prominent place beside the monarch, and the alteration struck at something far deeper than ceremony. She could not challenge it without turning a controlled anniversary into a public rupture. So she remained still, but her attention shifted sharply toward the aide nearest her. He offered no explanation. William felt pride and dread at the same time. He understood that Catherine's movement could not be undone once the ceremony continued. The image would carry its own meaning, and the future king knew people would read it as more than protocol. Yet Charles did something even more revealing. When Catherine reached him, the king did not appear surprised. He gave her a restrained acknowledgement, subtle enough to preserve the ceremony but clear enough to suggest preparation. That single gesture changed the mystery. Catherine had not wandered into the wrong place. Someone had authorized this. Camilla's unanswered glance toward the aide suddenly mattered, because silence inside a royal ceremony can reveal as much as words. And beneath the polished order of the anniversary, an older tension was beginning to surface. Because Catherine had not simply walked into another woman's place, she had stepped directly into a rivalry the palace had spent months pretending did not exist. For the public, the moment lasted minutes. For Catherine and Camilla, it carried years of accumulated meaning. One woman represented the established reign beside Charles. The other represented the monarchy that would follow him. Until this anniversary, those roles had been carefully separated. But once Catherine occupied the ceremonial position, future and present collided, and suddenly, every private insecurity, every question of precedence, and every unspoken comparison became impossible to ignore. Catherine understood exactly why the moment carried such weight. As Princess of Wales, the title given to the wife of the heir to the throne, she had become central to the image of the monarchy's next generation beside William. Her role was increasingly tied to continuity, family, restraint, and public confidence. Camilla's position mattered for a different reason. She had spent years reaching the place beside Charles, and every formal acknowledgement of that position carried personal meaning after a long, difficult journey into the heart of royal life. Camilla was already waiting when Catherine entered the private withdrawing room after the ceremony. The queen said nothing at first. Catherine slowly removed her gloves, aware that silence had become heavier than any accusation. Then Camilla finally asked the question neither woman could avoid. Had Catherine known she was going to take her place? Catherine answered carefully. She had been informed only moments before the central observance, and she believed refusing the instruction in public would have created a greater humiliation for everyone involved. The princess did not sound triumphant. She felt deeply uneasy, because she understood that what looked like elevation for her could feel like rejection to Camilla. Camilla listened, but the explanation did not settle her. Her frustration was not simply about Catherine standing beside Charles. What wounded her was the king's reaction. He had not appeared surprised. He had accepted the change with a calmness that suggested the decision had already been settled somewhere beyond her reach. That realization cut deeper than the ceremonial shift itself. William later found Catherine alone and told her something more troubling. The prince had seen a revised ceremonial memorandum, a formal document setting out the approved order of an event, and the new arrangement carried direct royal authorization. This had not been an aide improvising under pressure. Someone had changed the plan before the anniversary began. Catherine looked at her husband and asked the obvious question. Had Charles personally ordered that she take Camilla's place? William did not answer immediately. His pause told her more than words could. And once William revealed when the first change had been made, Catherine understood that the anniversary drama had begun long before anyone entered the ceremony. Every palace rupture has a point of no return. This one began weeks before the anniversary, during an event so small that almost everyone dismissed it. There were no shouting matches, no public embarrassment, no dramatic announcement. Just Charles, Camilla, Catherine, and a ceremonial rehearsal that suddenly went wrong. What happened inside that room changed the king's thinking and planted the seed for the extraordinary decision that would eventually place Catherine where Camilla expected to stand. Charles had wanted the anniversary to do more than celebrate his own reign. He wanted it to show continuity, meaning the visible connection between the current monarch and the generation expected to carry the crown forward. That made every position sensitive. William and Catherine were not simply attending as family. Their presence represented what would come next, and everyone in the room understood that even a small adjustment could send a larger message. Camilla objected when Catherine was assigned a prominent place near William during the private rehearsal at Windsor. The Queen argued that the focus should remain firmly on the reigning king and queen, and then she asked an official to move Catherine several places farther back. William stiffened immediately. To him, the request did not feel like harmless protocol. It felt like the future was being pushed aside at the very ceremony meant to connect one reign with the next. Catherine did not argue. The princess folded the rehearsal program, placed it on the table, and remained silent. That restraint unsettled Charles more than any confrontation could have. He watched her accept the adjustment without protest, while William struggled to hide his frustration. Camilla believed the matter had been settled. The king, however, carried the moment with him long after the rehearsal ended. Charles requested the ceremonial order again later that evening. The document was simply the approved sequence showing where each royal would stand and move during the anniversary. But now one line seemed impossible for him to ignore. He circled Catherine's assigned position and asked why an event celebrating continuity was placing the future at the edge. That question changed everything. Charles authorized a revised arrangement that circulated only among a tiny inner group. William became aware that Catherine's position was being reconsidered, while Camilla remained outside that discussion. The king knew the danger. Protecting his wife's dignity mattered deeply to him, yet so did acknowledging the growing importance of William and Catherine to the monarchy's future. Camilla eventually discovered that something had changed. She did not confront Catherine. She did not question William. She went straight to Charles. What followed was no longer a disagreement about ceremonial order. It became a confrontation between marriage, monarchy, and the future Charles could no longer postpone. The palace doors closed, the aides disappeared, and the question finally came without ceremony. Camilla did not ask Charles about protocol. She did not ask whether an official had made a mistake. She asked whether her husband had chosen Catherine over her. In that instant, the anniversary ceased to be about a position on a ceremonial floor. It became something brutally personal. Whether the king still saw his queen as essential to the monarchy's future. Camilla entered Charles's private sitting room carrying the amended ceremonial plan and placed it directly on his desk. The document set out the approved order of positions and movements for the anniversary, but now it felt less like paperwork and more like a verdict. She asked why Catherine had been given the place originally assigned to her. Charles did not answer immediately. He remained seated, visibly drained, because he understood exactly what the question meant beneath the surface. Camilla refused to soften her anger. She reminded him how many years she had spent reaching the position beside him, enduring public hostility and private uncertainty to become part of his reign. Now, while Charles was still king, she felt herself being pushed aside for the woman who represented what came next. The queen was not fighting over a chair. She was fighting against the feeling that her importance had begun to expire. Charles finally answered with painful restraint. Catherine was not replacing Camilla in his marriage, nor was she replacing her personal place beside him. The king explained that the anniversary had changed in purpose. It was no longer simply looking backward at his coronation. It had become a statement connecting his reign to William's future household, meaning the family unit expected to stand at the center of the next reign. Camilla understood the implication immediately. Charles had personally approved the alteration after the Windsor rehearsal, and he had done it without warning her first. Her anger sharpened. She asked who else had known. Charles admitted that William had been consulted before the revised ceremonial order was finalized. The future king had been asked whether Catherine could carry the responsibility without turning the moment into a personal triumph. She herself had been kept outside the discussion so that no one could accuse her of seeking the position. And Camilla pushed the memorandum back across the desk. Charles did not touch it. That refusal said everything. The decision would stand. Yet one detail remained hidden. William had supported the change, but he had not been the only voice urging Charles forward. Another senior royal had quietly argued that the future could no longer be kept in the background simply to protect old sensitivities. And when that hidden influence emerged, Camilla discovered that the resistance to her position was no longer coming from one room or even from one generation. Camilla still believed the decision could be reversed. Ceremonial plans change, positions move. A king's instruction can become another king's instruction before anyone notices. But inside the palace, someone had already drawn a line. Princess Anne viewed the anniversary through a colder lens: duty, continuity, and institutional survival. When pressure mounted to restore the original arrangement, Anne made clear that moving Catherine backward now would create a far greater crisis than allowing her to remain. Anne entered the dispute without seeking attention for herself. She believed the monarchy looked weakest when personal discomfort began rewriting decisions already approved. The Princess Royal, a title given to the monarch's eldest daughter and traditionally associated with senior public duty, saw the danger immediately. William saw it too. If Catherine were suddenly moved back after the revised arrangement had already circulated, the future king knew the message would be brutal. His wife had been elevated, challenged, and then publicly corrected. Anne made her position clear during a small planning meeting. An official cautiously suggested restoring the original ceremonial order before the anniversary began. She closed the folder in front of her and answered that Charles had already approved the new plan. Reversing it now, she argued, would not protect anyone. It would expose division. Catherine learned later that Anne had defended the arrangement, and gratitude quickly turned into discomfort. She told William she had never wanted another woman diminished, so that she could appear more important. The prince listened, then pushed back. Catherine could not spend her entire royal life stepping away whenever someone felt threatened by her growing prominence. William believed there was a difference between seeking attention and accepting responsibility when it was placed upon her. Anne carried the same argument directly to Charles. She told the king that protecting Camilla from embarrassment could not mean making William and Catherine appear secondary during a ceremony meant to connect the current reign with the next. Charles knew she had touched the heart of his dilemma. His wife's feelings mattered. So did the monarchy's future. Charles then admitted something Anne had suspected. The Windsor rehearsal had changed his thinking because Catherine had refused to fight for herself. The princess had accepted being moved without demanding recognition, and that restraint convinced him she could carry symbolic authority without turning it into personal victory. Anne answered with one final warning. Catherine's position was not a prize. It was a test. The monarchy was about to discover how she behaved when placed at its emotional center. Catherine would pass that test publicly, but Camilla was about to make clear how much that success had cost her privately. Because while the palace prepared to present Catherine as continuity, Camilla was preparing to show just how deeply that choice had wounded her. The public saw Catherine step forward. What they did not see was what happened after the applause disappeared. Behind closed doors, Camilla stopped fighting for the position. That did not mean she accepted what had happened. It meant something more dangerous. She withdrew. For Charles, anger would have been easier. Anger could be answered. Silence could not. And as the palace celebrated a successful anniversary, the king's private world began fracturing. Camilla declined the small family gathering that followed the ceremony and returned to her private rooms instead. The queen consort had spent the day maintaining control, but now the pressure broke inward. Charles joined William and Catherine without her, and that absence carried its own message. The gathering was meant to mark a successful anniversary, yet everyone understood that the central image of the day had left one member of the family deeply wounded. An aide later brought Camilla the official anniversary photographs. She studied the image of Catherine beside Charles for several seconds, then turned it face down and quietly asked to be left alone. Her anger had cooled into humiliation. One photograph had transformed a private dispute over ceremonial placement into something that looked like hierarchy, and she knew the public would not care how carefully the palace explained it. Charles went to her soon afterward. The king found the door closed and waited before he was finally admitted. Camilla remained composed, but distance had replaced fury. She told him the ceremony had shown exactly where the institution believed she belonged now. Charles tried again to explain that Catherine's position concerned succession, the process by which the crown passes to the next monarch, and the need to connect his reign with William's future. But even he could hear how powerless those words sounded against personal pain. William learned meanwhile that some courtiers were already treating the anniversary as the beginning of a deliberate transition toward him and Catherine. The future king understood why that interpretation was dangerous. If people decided his wife had deliberately pushed Camilla aside, Catherine's success could quickly become a weapon against her. Catherine refused to let that happen. She told William she would speak to Camilla herself, before resentment hardened into something permanent. The prince worried that his wife would apologize for a decision she had never made. Catherine answered that recognizing another woman's pain did not mean surrendering responsibility or pretending the ceremony had been wrong. That distinction mattered. Catherine would not retreat from what Charles had asked of her, but neither would she allow silence to turn duty into cruelty. So she went to Camilla alone, without Charles, without William, without advisors, and without protocol to protect either woman. For the first time since the anniversary, the two women would face each other not as symbols of competing royal eras, but simply as Catherine and Camilla. There were no courtiers in the room, no ceremonial charts, no king deciding precedents, and no future king protecting his wife. Catherine entered alone, and Camilla received her alone. For all the spectacle surrounding them, the most important confrontation happened without an audience. Catherine could have defended herself. Camilla could have accused her. Instead, both women finally admitted the fear beneath the rivalry. One feared being erased, while the other feared becoming powerful through somebody else's humiliation. Catherine declined the offer of tea and remained standing for a moment before taking the chair opposite Camilla. The princess knew this conversation mattered because the anniversary had turned private tension into public symbolism. A ceremonial position, meaning the formal place assigned to a royal during an official event, could suggest status even when no title had changed. That was exactly why neither woman could pretend the moment had been harmless. Catherine spoke first. She told Camilla that she had never requested the anniversary position and had even considered refusing when the instruction came. But challenging Charles only moments before the ceremony would have created confusion, embarrassment, and a public scene involving everyone around them. The princess admitted something else too. Stepping forward had frightened her, because she knew millions would interpret the movement as a verdict on both women. Camilla listened without interrupting. Then the queen admitted that Catherine herself had never been the deepest source of her anger. Charles had been. He had reconsidered her symbolic place without trusting her enough to discuss it beforehand. That wound went far beyond ceremony. She could accept change more easily than she could accept discovering that change after everyone else seemed to understand it. Camilla then acknowledged what had happened at Windsor. During the rehearsal, she had pushed for Catherine to be moved farther back because she feared the anniversary was becoming a preview of William's future reign, instead of a celebration of Charles's present one. The queen had wanted to protect the king's moment, but now she could see how that decision had made Catherine appear like a threat, simply for representing what came next. Catherine answered quietly but firmly. The future could not remain hidden forever. She would accept the responsibilities placed upon her, but she would never build her own importance by deliberately humiliating Camilla. That changed the room. Catherine rose to leave, expecting nothing more. Camilla stopped her and told her not to apologize for standing where Charles had placed her. The princess paused, turned back, and thanked her. The rivalry had not vanished, but its meaning had changed. By the time Catherine left that room, the personal crisis had softened, but beyond the palace gates, the symbolic earthquake was only beginning. By morning, the anniversary itself was almost secondary. One photograph dominated everything. Catherine standing in the ceremonial position the public associated with Camilla, Charles beside her, and William only steps away. The image required no explanation. Newspapers interpreted it as succession made visible. Broadcasters called it a generational shift. Crowds debated whether they had witnessed protocol or prophecy. Inside the palace, everyone understood the same uncomfortable truth. Whatever the intention, the symbolism now belonged to the public. A major London morning paper made the moment impossible to ignore. Its front page carried the anniversary photograph beneath the fictional headline, "Catherine Steps Forward." The phrase spread quickly, because it captured what people believed they had witnessed. Succession, the process by which the crown passes to the next monarch, was no longer being discussed only as a distant constitutional future. Catherine's position beside Charles had made that future feel immediate. Outside Buckingham Palace, the reaction became physical. Crowds gathered at the gates while people held up phones showing the same image. Some praised Catherine for appearing calm and ready for greater responsibility. Others argued that Camilla had been publicly diminished. Television coverage followed the same divide, moving away from the anniversary itself and toward a larger question about whether the monarchy had deliberately placed William and his wife closer to the center. Catherine saw the front page over breakfast and fell silent. William immediately noticed that she was not celebrating. The princess understood why the attention mattered, but she hated the suggestion that her rise could only be measured against Camilla's pain. The prince reminded her that neither of them could control what millions of people projected onto one photograph. Catherine answered that she could still control what she did next. Camilla saw the coverage too. This time, the queen did not turn the photograph face down. She studied it. The interpretation still hurt, but after her private conversation with Catherine, she could no longer dismiss the symbolism completely. The image represented something real. The monarchy was beginning to make space for the generation that would follow Charles. Charles then made the decision that settled the palace argument. The king refused to issue any corrective statement suggesting Catherine's placement had been accidental or improper. His internal instruction was clear. The anniversary had been designed to show continuity across generations, not to erase Camilla, and he would not allow the palace to rewrite that intention afterward. That choice ended the battle over what had happened, but it left something more important unresolved. And the final answer would come not from another ceremony, but from how each of them chose to live with the image after the noise had faded. In the end, Catherine did not seize a crown, overthrow a queen, or demand a place that belonged to somebody else. What shocked the world was simpler and therefore more powerful. She stepped forward when the institution asked her to. Camilla stepped back and confronted what that movement represented. Charles accepted that his reign could honor the present while acknowledging the future. And William saw the woman beside him cross an invisible threshold from royal participant to national symbol. Catherine later admitted to William that the hardest part had never been standing beside Charles. It had been knowing Camilla would have to watch her do it. The princess understood that symbolic authority, the public meaning attached to a royal role, could elevate one person while unintentionally wounding another. William told her that this discomfort was precisely what separated responsibility from ambition. The future king believed her compassion made the moment stronger, not weaker. Charles then asked Catherine to meet with him privately. The king thanked her for handling the anniversary without triumph, celebration, or any attempt to turn Camilla's discomfort into personal victory. He told her that dignity after a difficult decision mattered far more than where someone stood during a ceremony. Catherine listened carefully, knowing his words were not simply praise. They were recognition that something in her royal life had changed. Camilla reached her own conclusion more slowly. The queen did not pretend the experience had stopped hurting, and she did not suddenly forget how exposed she had felt. But she stopped viewing Catherine's rise as something stolen from her. William represented the next reign, and the woman beside him would inevitably become more visible as that future moved closer. Fighting that reality could only turn transition into bitterness. Catherine approached Camilla first at the next private family gathering. She expected politeness, perhaps distance. Instead, the queen shifted slightly and made room beside her. No apology followed. No grand reconciliation was needed. That simple gesture carried something stronger: acceptance without surrender. Charles understood the lesson as clearly as anyone. Protecting his marriage and preparing the crown's future were never opposite duties, but both required honesty before ceremonial choices became emotional wounds. William understood something too. Catherine's real strength was not popularity. It was her ability to receive authority without treating authority as victory. That became the final meaning of the anniversary. Catherine had not replaced Camilla as Charles's queen. She had stepped unmistakably into the monarchy's next chapter. Camilla remained part of the king's reign, while Catherine emerged as one of the clearest symbols of what would follow it. There was nowhere else for the story to go. The anniversary had delivered its verdict. Catherine had stepped forward. Camilla had faced the change, and the crown had acknowledged the future without denying the past. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.